terrible. We need another 5-degree day. Again, that'll kick us into gear. Welcome to Orchestructure. My name is Mario Lori. I see a lot of new faces, and that really excites me. So thank you very much for coming and taking the time out of your busy day and week to come to the meetup. We have the Wi-Fi posted in various places. Ithaca Guest is the username. There's plenty of pizza, so please get as much as you want. The bathrooms are out that way, the way you came in. Today we have Brandon from Openly talking about Linkerd. So thank you very much for that. I'm one more thing. We're working on planning the Orchestructure workshop. We don't have a 100% solid date yet, but it's going to be probably in June-ish, May, June-ish. That is, for those that don't know, a Saturday session that's 4 to 6 hours, lunch is included, and we do multiple sessions, kind of interactive sessions where you can learn various cloud-native technologies, Kubernetes, Docker, etc. We have a survey out, Jeff, right? And it's posted in Slack, and we'll repost it as well for you to give us details on what you want to see, what you want to learn about this year. Last year, I know we did intro to Kubernetes, Docker, Vault, and CI/CD. Maybe we'll do those again if those are still really hot topics. So, but if you have new things that more cloud-centric, et cetera, different cloud-native technologies, please let us know. Please talk to myself. Bob Killen and Jeff back there are also co-organizers with myself. So please don't be afraid to come up and talk to us. So with that,
Thanks to Ithaca.
Yes. Also, thank you to Ithaca, who's been hosting us and will probably host us for the workshop. We actually used this room and that room right there. And those worked out really well last year. So I don't have anything further. If you have any questions or anything, like I said, feel free to ask the person sitting next to you or one of us, and enjoy the food. And let's give Brandon a round of applause for Linkerd. Thanks. You're good to go.
Hello. So I'm going to sit down for most of this presentation because there's going to be live demos that are going to definitely go very well. So, and also the microphone's down there. But hi, I'm Brandon. I work at a 7-person company called Openly. I'll tell you what we do in a minute. And there's 3 of us on the engineering team, so we're a small startup. And I am going to tell you about what we're doing with Linkerd to try to specifically make our third-party calls more reliable and be able to monitor them and stuff like that. No? Yeah? Okay. Wrong button. All right. First, some introductions. My cats show up in my slides a lot. That one's Mark with his head in there. And Cleo usually just judges him, whatever he's doing. That used to be full of cat treats, and he figured out how to get up onto like the top shelf in the pantry and like ate all of them out of it. So once they were gone, he left. So Openly is a small insurance company. We are not an agency. We are like an actual insurance company, which means we create our own products, do our own underwriting, but we don't hold like risk. So if you have a claim or whatever, we don't actually like pay you. A third party that has sort of like agreed to assume the risk does. And one key thing that kind of differentiates us from a lot of like insurtech startups that have been popping up in recent years is that we are purposefully only selling to agents, at least in the beginning. About I think like 40% of homeowners insurance still go through insurance agencies and agents, and they are very underserved by technology that was made after the 90s. For instance, this is from a public video, so that shows like the kind of interfaces that people are used to having to deal with. This is just like a 10-minute tutorial about how to like sell a single insurance policy. Yeah, like I don't know what that is, but like make sure you keep your passwords up to date in their program that I'm sure is very secure and definitely is never going to leak your passwords. Make sure you keep your software up to date by manually checking for updates, because they only occasionally email you for updates. And make sure you always read the plan summary, which is like these little plus signs. There could be a bunch of these. You have to click this little plus sign and then read through this whole interface for like each line item to know if you're going to sell them like a valid insurance policy. I have no insurance experience, but the two founders of the company have a ton of insurance experience. One of them owned an agency, and one of them worked for Liberty Mutual for 12 years and sort of just got like frustrated with this whole situation and wanted to do something about it. So we made like a much nicer interface, which I will show you in a second. I do need a volunteer. And the constraints are that you have to at least give me the address of a single family home. If you live in an apartment or whatever, that's not going to work. But anyone who wants to give me a home address, okay, GP. Let me figure out how to get out of here. All right, so this. So we're just gonna make a new quote. You don't have to give me. What's your
SICA? 0911 1985.
You don't actually have to do that, but what's your address?
281.
281.
Lawson, Lawson.
Lawson.
There you go.
Celine?
Yep.
All right. I assume it's not your summer home.
No.
All right, cross your fingers. All right, well, we don't know if you have a basement. Do you have a basement? Okay. Okay, so that is basically it. I mean, you can adjust the coverage and stuff like that, but this $887 is, I mean, it's not actually for sale yet, but so, but that would be a valid price that if you just like didn't, all you cared about were the defaults, you can just click continue and like type in your email address and buy the policy, which is like approximately a half an hour faster than it takes for an agent to normally quote you. This is something that the agent would see, yeah.
So then the agent has a sense of what levels of coverage gets to the homeowner guidance.
Yeah, so I sort of went through this quickly, but there's a coverage package selection here that agencies can define. So they can set coverage packages, and also if someone's like, I really want identity, or I don't want it, whatever. I have $100,000 worth of jewelry I need to insure, right? Like most of these things for existing insurance, you have to like go through all sorts of paperwork and fax things. And I mean, like literally some people do this with a pen and paper, like they calculate rates with like a slide rule or something. I don't know, but, and then for like really expensive things, you can add like, you know, like someone's basement, isn't there computers?
Yeah, double base that's worth 30.
Yeah, no, the computers are just here. But if you have $100,000, you know, basement dev cluster or whatever. So anyhow, that's the product we've been working on. And we're not live in any states yet, but I'll let you know when we are in Michigan. Yeah, so how do I start this back again? Okay. Yeah. So how do we do this? Basically, we're taking. Well, I can edit this and change it to Jeff's name, but we're taking you and your house and producing a price, and that's basically all we want to have to take. The information we want to take from people really is name, birth date, and address. We're pretty confident that 80% of the time, we're not quite there yet, but we should be able to 80% of the time give someone a quote for homeowners insurance in their area. Just with those 3 pieces of information. And then, like you saw it pop up and ask if you have a basement. That's like the 20% of the time is like you might have to answer a question. We might not have your square footage or whatever, but 80% of the time it takes like 1 HTTP request basically in less than 30 seconds. So really what's going on behind the scenes is we're like taking all these, from that information, we're getting all this other information about your house and about you to decide how much to charge you and that kind of stuff. So this is some of the stuff. It's not really important what it is, but you know, the property characteristics, credit score. There's like insurance specific credit score. That's not like it's not like your normal FICO. How many bathrooms your house matters kind of a lot because like water sucks, and so you know, yeah.
You get the data from Zillow, or you get it from government?
We pay a non-trivial amount of money to various people to get our data, which is what this is. I apologize for my handwriting. So basically, the score on the left is our back-end thing. We only have one service right now. It's a small company. We have not yet orchestrated a billion microservice monolith or whatever. Microlith. Anyhow, so basically the deal is a request comes in and then sends a bunch of other requests out through the internet to a bunch of third parties. Right now we have 6 data sources. We'll probably be closer to a dozen when we actually go live. Some of them are required and some of them are nice to have, and we can still issue a quote if they don't work. However, sometimes they don't work. One of our property details vendors is like pretty flaky. Sometimes it works on retry and sometimes it's just like down for a while. So we have to deal with this kind of stuff. And you know, make some sort of intelligent decision about what to do, which is often we're also down. So one way to do this is to sort of build in retry, metrics, circuit breaking, all this kind of stuff that you want into the client code for our service, and you know, there are good libraries for this. But you know, in an ideal world, I wouldn't have to worry about all this stuff that much, and so that's where we kind of have started turning to Linkerd. So who's used Linkerd or played with it or knows what it is or anything? Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So like 2018 or something was the year of the service mesh, I guess. And Linkerd is one of the entrants into the service mesh world. They've been around for a few years. In Linkerd 1, and Linkerd 2 came out. I think there was like a launch party at KubeCon in Austin in 2017, I guess. Yeah. So it's all pretty new, but these are slides that I stole from them. But it's a CNCF project. Excuse me. There is a lot of activity. It does some cool things for you. It gives you visibility into what is going on with your requests. It gives you ability to debug them and like inspect them live. It does reliability stuff like retries and timeouts and and retry budgets and stuff like that. And it can do TLS and some security stuff like internal to your network. So normally when you deploy this, you have your application with a little sidecar Linkerd proxy that is effectively running in the same pod in Kubernetes. And it intercepts any incoming or outgoing TCP connection to basically anywhere. And if it's HTTP or gRPC or a couple other protocols that it understands, it can like actually intelligently give you some information about it. And so effectively, instead of using kubeproxy, you can like run all these Linkerd proxies that sit between all of your services and give you some like value add with all your HTTP connections. And it's designed for use inside of the cluster for like reliability and metrics between inter-cluster communication for your microservices. So this is what we have here, failing property details thing. We need retry metrics and circuit breaking for external services. Well, it's not really that much different than an internal service. It's just calling something over the internet. So we basically stuck Linkerd here. And instead of it service meshing to things that are inside of the cluster, it's just like also looking at things that are outside of the cluster. And so that is what I am now going to do a live demo of, which is definitely gonna like work 100% correctly on my first try. But first, a little background about what's going on. I set up a cloud function there. If you go to funk.dimcheff.com, it'll 301 you to that URL, and you can like see what it does. It basically is it simulates a kind of crappy API. It takes between 1 and 3 seconds on average to respond, but sometimes it'll take a lot longer. Sometimes it'll 10% of the time it'll 500 for no reason. I mean, it's very it's just like a silly little simulator of what reality might be like for a third-party API. If you really care, it's an Erlang distribution with a kappa 2 and a lambda 2. And so anyhow, so that's just sitting out on the internet pretending to be some random third-party API. And then I have a GKE cluster that I already installed Linkerd on. It takes a while to provision a cluster and install that stuff, so I didn't want to waste time doing that. And then there is a service in that cluster that already has an IP address assigned to it, so I could give it a DNS. So basically what we are going to do is we're going to pretend that linkerd.dimcheff.com/third-party is the quotes API for openly. And we're going to call it, and it's going to have to call this other function that is slow and that occasionally fails. And we're going to try to make it better with only using Linkerd. So, first, we just kind of like YOLO some stuff. I don't know who coined that phrase, but curling something to bash is called YOLOing. So this is basically all you have to do to install Linkerd and get a dashboard running. I am going to now switch off. I'm going to switch to like mirroring so I can not hurt my neck in this process. All right. So if we do on Hangouts. All right. Screen share. Come on. All right. So, this is the, don't look at backup. That's in case this goes horribly awry. So this demo namespace has nothing in it. It's just empty. It has a service for the external IP, but it has no pods or anything running. It, but like you can see that for Linkerd itself, it like monitors itself or whatever. So you can see all these like kind of stats and stuff and whatever. You like, this is just immediately after installing Linkerd, you get that kind of stuff. So I am going to install a thing. Can you guys see this? Probably not. That's very small. All right. This is a new line at the end of the file, but this is very simple. It just installs my little simulated API and runs it. So we're going to turn that on, and then we should start getting. So this third-party endpoint. Okay, so now it's working. This is just in nanoseconds. Yeah, you definitely can't see that. All right, it's nice and big. That's in nanoseconds how long it took. I'm going to do this a few times. That was 5 seconds, 4 seconds. That's like 4/10 of a second. And, you know, 1/10 of the time it'll 500 or whatever, but I'm not really going to wait for that. Right now we're at 11.2 seconds. That's ridiculous. All right. So if we look at our Linkerd thing here, now it has noticed that there's a deployment and a pod and stuff, but it's not getting any metrics from it because it hasn't. Linkerd has not installed its little sidecar pod yet. So the way you fix that problem is to, I should actually copy and paste the thing so that I know it's like.
That little bottom part in your program, the side pod.
Yeah. So this is what we have right now. Actually, do a thing. So right now we just like, we're just making a call to /third party, which is just directly, it's just like calling it with Go's HTTP client. Very simple. What I'm going to do in a second is this, which is we're going to install Linkerd into this deployment, which will actually attach the Linkerd proxy to the pod that I'm running. Which should be here. And so the way this kind of works is you just take the I can show you what the results of this are. But it just downloads the YAML from Kubernetes and then pipes it through the linker command, which injects its own stuff into it. So that little tiny deployment turned into this thing that Linkerd attached an extra pod to it. It configured a bunch of stuff, and like there's an init container or something maybe. So, so it's just like transforming the YAML that you give it and sticking this extra pod on it. So you can put this in your deployment pipeline or whatever. There's also a newer thing where you can just have it automatically do it inside, like with an annotation somehow. I haven't messed with that yet. This is just like, it's more obvious what's going on. So anyhow, like now we should be doing something here. What do we got? Too many windows. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. It's doing something. Is someone hitting my thing? Because there's like requests going to it. That's cool. I don't have to do it. What? Oh yeah, sorry. I mean, okay. Yeah, so this is saying this Linkerd demo deployment has 92.5% success rate, 10 requests per second. Is someone actually doing this? Like someone HC perfing me or something? Oh, whatever. Fine. I mean, I was gonna do that, but I'm just not going to now. And then you also get these like cool Grafana graphs, right? So like success rate, request rate, 10 requests per second, inbound, outbound traffic. And so, yeah, I mean, you'll notice that the success rate here is approximately the same as the success rate we would, like I told you, it was like 10% of the time it's 500ing. Well, when the underlying service 500s, my calling service also 500s, it just returns whatever code the underlying service is. So this is just sort of like passing through failure. It has its own copy of Grafana and Prometheus that saves data for like 6 hours or something like that, that it just uses internally. I would, yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's all just like native Kubernetes stuff. So if you want to change the scraper, add your own scraper that scrapes the Linkerd endpoints and gathers this data and sticks it somewhere else, I think that is how I would do it if I was going to like actually like use these metrics for alerting or something. Like I wouldn't define alerts in this thing. Oh, okay. Or you do that. All right, so anyhow, this thing that is doing 10 requests per second is, kind of merrily going along. I need my... All right, so I'm not going to do this HC perf thing because it's already running somewhere. So some other stuff that is kind of cool. You can do this. All right. So this is like top for your services, network connections. It's Linkerd top. Not enough connections. Do 1 million of them. All right, so there we go. It's collecting more stuff. So you can see like both the incoming and outgoing connections, right? Like / third party is the request to the API / slow is the request like going out to my third party thing. It gives you some stats. But if you want, you can also get Linkerd to send you some to like monitor things by route, which is pretty cool. And unfortunately, it's going to say that it can't do that because there's no service profile for the selected resources. Now, in Linkerd, a service profile is basically a way of defining with a custom resource definition what things you care about and what you wanna like monitor individually. So you can give it like a regex for a path at a particular API So if you have like a particular slow route you want to monitor or certain subpaths you want to like keep track of separately, it adjusts how it sticks those metrics in Prometheus if you kind of give it some hints. And so I'm going to add a service profile here. So this service profile, for instance, has the name. Normally, you name this as one of your internal service names. And so you can keep track of your internal services separately. In this case, I am giving it the name of an external service. And it's just like anything connecting to that domain name with this route of slow will have this, will get the benefit of the like service profile tracking. So add this service profile in there, and then theoretically, when I do this routes thing, okay, so now it's tracking routes individually. And so I don't know what the default thing is. Like at the beginning, when you first create a service profile, it seems to have some like kind of like errors it's got to sort out. But eventually they'll all get stuck under slow. And we should like even out at like 10 requests per second. It also has this wide option, which shows you some additional information like 50th percentile, 95th, and 99th percentile latencies. So this is the outgoing connections from my service to the third-party cloud function that is, 91.6% effective, and we're hitting it at about 10 requests per second. So that's cool and all, but like, it's gonna suck if I am erroring creating a quote 10% of the time because I got a crappy old third-party service that errors 10% of the time. So wouldn't it be great if we could do something about that without having to do anything to our client code? And turns out we can. I'm going to edit this service profile. Hopefully. All right. And I'm going to say for this route, is retriable true? And through the magic of Linkerd, we're going to watch this effective success rate gradually. So yeah, it's crept up a little bit. But right now, it's hard to, this is sort of like a big cut set. This is the actual success rate of the backend service, and this is the apparent success rate to the client in my service that's calling via Linkerd, because Linkerd is handling the retries on its own, and it'll occasionally fail still because there's a timeout that if it just is like takes too long twice, it's gonna like expire its timeout and it'll still fail. But we're up to 100% effective success rate, and if you want to see that in graph form, that's what it looks like.
So it determines that all based on HTTP status.
Yes. So this service profile is very trimmed down. They have like a generator for service profiles, and it will show you all of the all the like customization is sort of like commented out in the template, and so you can like per route you can say whether it's retriable at all. You can say what error status codes are errors and which are okay, and so you can control a lot of that behavior. Is also the default, I believe, is that the retry budget is something like you get 10 requests per second free to retry, and then it can only go like 20% over your like actual request rate, so that you don't retry, storm, trample shit out, right? So
Can you also can you like look at the response and say, oh, this string that appears in the response
that's a good question. I don't know if you can. Someone can probably Google whether a service profile can actually do a regex on the thing, but yeah. So basically, now what has also happened as a result of this is that we ended up with this. We ended up with this. This is. I mean, these are all like representing metrics in Prometheus, right? So like Linkerd, as a result of me defining that service profile, has created an authority of that host name, where it's tracking all of those metrics, so you can take them and you can alert on. Like, I mean, you probably don't want to get paged when like your third party goes below, but like you might want to like send yourself an email and yell at your account rep or whatever if their error rate is like elevated for a certain period of time or whatever. So like this is hopefully going to be very valuable to us when we are, you know, trying to figure out, okay, something broke, what is it? You know, being able to see a graph of like the latency and error rates of all of our third-party API calls is like, I mean, that's what's gonna cause us problems more than anything.
Are these data profiles stored as well as displayed?
They're all this is data in Prometheus, in their Prometheus, but like I guess you can change where it sends it, so you can send it to your own Prometheus, and do what you want with it. And so this is basically displaying the same thing. It's pulling metrics out of Prometheus. The dashboard, like there's a lot of overlap between the dashboard, Grafana, and the command line stuff, but it's all. I mean, I personally like it that it's like composing a bunch of different like open source CNCF tools and other things into like one kind of unified thing that you can then like interact with like you do with anything else that uses Prometheus or Grafana or whatever. You don't have to like learn some totally new thing. It's like it's a good use of the Unix philosophy or whatever. Yes, it is. I can let me. So this is technically, well, this is 100% success rate. So this is the ingress request that it's showing you there, right? This it does IP tables hacks or something to like send everything through its proxy, right? It is getting all the requests to and from any network requests through that pod. So yeah, so like these are all, this is all like front end success rate and requests and stuff, right? Like these are latencies of that like HTTP perf is getting to this, and these are the latencies and success rates that are going out just like in aggregate to everything. I mean, it's sort of interesting because we're only calling one thing. I can't. I didn't want to make the demo too complicated, I guess. But like, if you, why are we not? Okay, no. If you had a bunch of different, if you had a bunch of different hosts, they would each have their own like authority dashboard basically for like each thing. And likewise, if you have like a bunch of different sources of traffic that you care about, like probably more for internal cluster or something. You would have different. Assuming that's not totally obscured by your load balancer, like if your load balancer is running in Kubernetes and you have Linkerd in your load balancer thing too, then yeah, I would imagine so. I don't know if that's a good idea though. It seems.
Service discovery.
Yeah. Does anyone have any like questions or anything? Like I can do crazy things to this if you want.
So you don't have like not running.
Oh, you want to know the catch? Oh, that's in here.
Did this right here.
No, we don't have any. We haven't started selling insurance yet. It turns out it's hard to like create an insurance company. There's a lot of regulations and stuff. All right, that's for later. So the catch, there's no TLS support for this right now. Yeah, because it would have to man in the middle U basically. There's an open issue. I'm sure I'm probably not gonna have time to fix it, but like I do think that they seem like there's been some chatter around it, and hopefully that happens. I mean, like all the URLs I had in there were HTTP. We're not actually using this in production because all of our stuff is actually over HTTPS. It does what it does because it can inspect individual request traffic. It can do layer 4 stuff, but like it's way less interesting, you know. It can't tell what the HTTP response is. But I think like the solution to that is like if you can trust the Linkerd certificate that it can then unwrap. It's like it's a process that's running next to it in a pod, right? So like there's not like a huge amount of danger relatively for Linkerd terminating the SSL, re-encrypting it, and then
Yeah, but unless like your app does this fitting, which yeah. Right.
A lot of people have a lot of cluster play. In that case, like this would work, right? Because the connection the application.
right, but this is outgoing connections, and my like language HTTP library is going to validate the SSL certificate of what it's connecting to, which is technically Linkerd. Yeah. It took me a long time. Like I was trying to get this work at KubeCon, and I was like, what the hell is going on? It took me like months. Like I wasn't actually working on it for months. But like finally someone was like, what are you doing about TLS? So I was like, oh. So yeah, does someone else have a question?
Makes sense for performance tax, either in terms of if you want high bandwidth something like this, is it producing measurable delays?
So in this slide in very tiny print somewhere, it says right there, less than 1 millisecond P99. Linkerd 2 is a very lightweight proxy that's written in Rust. It's high performance. Obviously, if you're doing something like, I don't know what you'd be doing using Kubernetes for if you were like that concerned about that. Like it probably is not any worse than kube proxy or whatever, I would imagine. But we're doing like, I mean, if we're getting 10 actual requests per second to our service, like I'm a billionaire, so whatever. Like nobody, like, you know, this is like for us, it's high value, low volume. Yeah, I mean,
That's all that's necessary. You said that, I mean, I think that this is originally designed to use kubernetes or DNS for internal discovery. You're using it to call external. Is there anything that you have to do special to make it realize that I'm going to set up for services?
it was just that service, just the service profile. Well, it just knew that there was anonymous outgoing traffic, right? So like even before I installed the service profile, that dashboard of like an aggregate of all the outgoing connections was fine. It's like in order to see like per path stuff and like break down the outgoing traffic, I needed to install that service profile. But it's doing the pod, the Linkerd pod is setting up IP tables rules that are redirecting all incoming and outgoing traffic through that pod, and it's collecting data, some kind of data on everything. It's
all kinds of data in bucket.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they're running in two separate containers, so I don't know what the consequences of like network sockets inside of it. Like, I don't know. You might, but someone else in this room might be able to answer that, but I don't think I can. Yeah, it might just, yeah, I don't know. So there's one more. There's an audience participation segment here. I mean, I know I'm like running out of time, or I am out of time, but this is yesterday. I was load testing my thing, and you can kind of see the little peak, and the cat wanted to bat at my CPU spike. I have a three node standard one cluster or whatever, with one pod running currently. If people are interested in trying to break this while I try to scale it up, I'm willing to play that game. But I don't know if that's interesting to people or not. I wouldn't recommend using the Wi-Fi, but Google Cloud Shell can send a lot of traffic in its same zone. Well, I'll leave it up for a while. I thought about trying to make it auto scale and then just sit here and run out of time.
Do you have, so with Istio, a couple different inside the service there Linkerd as well. Are there particular ingresses as well with masters?
I've seen some activity around like traffic and stuff, but I don't like. There's a traffic ingress, and I think they instrument that fairly well. I haven't messed with that, so I don't have a good answer for you. The Linkerd folks are really good with Slack. So if you join the Linkerd Slack and talk to them, they're always really helpful. A couple of people helped me with this over the last week, and I was like, I mean, I was just like an idiot, and they didn't call me names, so.
That And is there advice that you give anybody who wanted to start things to avoid?
TLS. Yeah, I mean, I think for internal cluster stuff, like if I had, I wouldn't really hesitate to install this for my low traffic microservices inside of my cluster. I don't have any. I have one, but like if I had, I don't know. I don't know enough about like what it does under extreme load to know if that's a good idea, but for being able to like observe and debug the things that are going on, the network connections and traffic and stuff that's going on inside of my cluster, which by and large is unencrypted anyways. They do have TLS support. If you want your intra-cluster communication to be encrypted, you can turn on the TLS support. And if there's a Linkerd on both ends, they will encrypt the traffic between Linkerds. You will still speak plain text to, like you appear to be speaking plain text, but it'll just transparently encrypt it all. So you get like you get free stuff like that. I mean, it's not free, it's CPU intensive or whatever, I guess. But like,
Are there any fintech regulations that are shadowing over this that you have to worry about? You're not moving money, so that's not as much an issue. You are dealing with confidentiality. So sometimes some startups have to find out later on. Owners.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to like manage that kind of stuff. It's not. I mean,
but this all satisfies all that.
I mean, most of the regulations are not like, they're not like you have to use this technology to do this or whatever, submit this in triplicate. It's like, they're more like principles or something. And, you have to be able to explain what you're doing to a regulator and not have them yell at you, I think.
So next meetup is getting past regulations. Is that what you're saying? You'll be here for another 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, you guys can ask him questions.
I have to give my hiring pitch first, though.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so we're there's 3 engineers, me, one of the co-founders in Boston, and someone in Southern California, and I want to start a small Ann Arbor office, and we are actively, I think last 3 weeks ago I said we're not hiring yet, but like we are officially. I don't have a link yet, but we'll post one somewhere in the Orchestructure stuff soon. But I really want to start a small Ann Arbor office, and we are ready to do that. So if making insurance agents' life less awful seems exciting, and using Linkerd and fancy new technology to do it, then find me and click on my link.
What's the minimum number of people you need to justify an Ann Arbor office?
+1. I mean, like, we can get a small office with me and one other person. I don't know.
Yeah, that's very cool. I wonder if the nutshell space is still available. Either way, that's cool.
That's awesome. Probably too big.
Yeah, for 2 people. Well, thank you very much. Let's give Brandon a round of applause. I have a network engineering background, and that was like